it's Baz from the Education Hamper. Welcome to this 11 plus non-verbal reasoning video on cube rotations. This is part 2 of this series. I've got the link up in the top right for part 1. Please select that if you want to run through part 1 first. So here's a summary of what verbal and non-verbal reasoning is. Non-verbal reasoning is questioning technique that measures your logical thinking. So here we'll be running through cube rotations. We'll have examples of a cube and we'll have to choose the best option to represent one of the sides of the cube. So any further details, please link back to part 1 of these exercises, but let's kick on through these questions. Question 1, in terms of a summary of what we're trying to do here, the 4 cubes on the left are different views of the same cube. So we have the cube with various patterns on them. A, B, C, D, and E are possible options of a view of the cube as on the left, but a side that we can't see. However, only one of these is correct, and we just need to figure out which one that is. So we'll run through it and we'll select the option that best suits this. So as with most of these exercises, please pause the video, have a go yourself, and then play it again and we can run through the solution. Right, question 1. So we have these 4 views, these various patterns. First thing we do is try and remove the ones that are unlikely to happen. So question part A here, we have a circle, a square with the cross, and a triangle. Do we see one of these patterns with all 3 of these shapes in there? No, we don't, so we can automatically rule that one out. Next, F, square and a triangle, F, square and a triangle. We have that in both patterns, but here so the F points towards the edge of this square, which it does there as well. However, the bottom of the F in this example points towards a triangle, whereas in this case the triangle points towards the top of the F. So the F's are in the wrong position, so we can cross that one out. Next example, N or Z, circle and a square. Let's see if we have anything that has all 3 of those shapes in there. So we have that here. So the N is pointing towards that part of the square, which is very similar here, and the bottom of the N is pointing towards the circle. So that seems correct as well. And if we think about rotating this in 3D space, so the circle now comes over here, and the N now goes up there. So we're essentially twisting it around like this. So that would replicate this part of the face. So this is a possible answer. So let's mark it. Let's see if we can remove the other 2. F is pointing, the top of the F is pointing towards the square. We know that that's not the case with these examples because the end of the F is pointed towards the square. So we can remove this. And next one is side of the F is pointing towards that box, that square. We don't see that in this example, so we can remove that. So the answer here is C. That's the correct answer. Right, question 2. Looking at this part here, part A, we have an L, a Z, and a circle. Do we see any of these figures in any of the cubes? And we see that here, Z, L, and circle. The bottom part of the L is pointed towards the circle. Bottom part of the L is pointing towards the circle, so that's correct. The side of the N is pointing towards a circle. Side of the N is pointing towards a circle. And we would have to twist this shape in this fashion in order to match this face. So I think this is a possible answer. Let's mark that, see if we can rule out any of these other ones. Side of the L pointing towards the square. Here we see the top of the L is pointing towards the square, so remove that. Alright, here we have J, S, and square. Do we see a J, S, and square example here? Nope, so that we can rule out. J, L, and square. So this suggests the bottom of the J is pointing towards the square. We know that in the examples that we're given that the top of the J is pointing towards the square. So that is incorrect. Top of J pointing towards the square, that's correct. Top of L pointing towards the square. But this is where it's a little bit of a tricky one. These faces are incorrect. So the J should be over here and the L should be over here as per this example here. So just be careful about these questions. They always put in a tricky one, so that one's incorrect. The correct answer here is A. Question 3, part A, we have a F pointing towards this square with the diagonal and the top of the and facing towards the side of the F. Do we see that here? Here we see the top of the and facing the bottom of the F, so automatically we can remove this one. Side of the and is facing towards this pattern shape. Here we have the top of the and facing towards that pattern shape, so that's incorrect. Here we have the side of the and facing the white part of this shape, but we know that the side of the and is facing the black part of this shape, so we can remove that. I'm just looking at back to E here because I see an F and triangle and I notice that we don't have those three within the examples, so we can remove that. So this should be the correct answer. Let's just check it. Side of N facing the box shape, so side of N facing the box shape, and then we have the side, this side facing the white part of this shape, this side facing the white part of this shape. So that seems correct. So part D is the correct answer here. Right, question 4. Part A has a G and a square. Do we have that in any of these shapes? We have that here, G and square, G and square. I think we use this example because it's on the correct orientation. Both the G and the and are pointing towards the square, that's correct. However, the faces are opposite. So here we see that G is on this face, but we have and on this face. So that's an incorrect answer. And N and F, and N and F. Here we have the side of the and pointing towards the side of the N, side of the and pointing towards the side of the N, and the top of the F pointing towards the end of the N, top of the F pointing towards the end of the F, sorry, the top of the F pointing towards the end of the N, and to match this shape we would need this F to come up to the top face and the and to come to this face, so that would involve this kind of rotation. That looks a possible answer here. So let's mark that. Let's see if we can remove the other ones. And G and a square. We see that the top of the G is facing towards the square, whereas the side of the G is facing towards the square here. That's incorrect. Top of G to square. Here we have bottom of G to square. That's incorrect. This looks okay. Top of G to square is correct, and top of N towards square. That's incorrect because we don't have that example that we can use here to show that the N is adjacent to the square. So that's incorrect. So the correct answer here is B. Right, question 5. Here we have part A. Square, bottom of S is pointing towards the square, and the side of the and is pointing towards the square. We don't have the S and the and the square as an example here together, so we can remove that one. Top of N towards the square, whereas we have the side of the N pointed towards the square here. So that is incorrect as well. This is a possible answer here. So top of N is pointing towards the square. This part is pointed towards the square, which is same as this example. However, the side of the and is pointed towards the square, whereas we have the top of the and to the square. So that's incorrect. Again, side of and to the black square, bottom of and to the black square, so that's incorrect. Here we have the bottom of the and to the square with a line, bottom of and to square with a line, bottom of S to the square with the line. That looks correct. And if we just move the faces, so we match this, so this would twist down like that, essentially, in that orientation, and would come down to here, and S would rotate this point. So E, that's the correct answer here. Question 6. Here we have part A. and we have the F pointing towards the square, and then the top of the F to the hash sign. We don't see the F and the hash sign together here, so that could be incorrect. And then this one, top of F towards the side of the square, but here we see the side of the F to the square, it's not the top, so that's incorrect. Side of hash towards the side of the square, side of hash towards side of square, that's okay. Side of and to the square, side of and to the square, that's correct. Can we replicate this by twisting this round? So if the square were to fall down to here and the and was to twist to here, so the bottom of the and is on top, then the hash would be in this orientation. So yeah, so this is probably correct here. So this face and this face looks about the same. So give that an option here. Let's just rule these ones out. Side of F to the square, that's fine, but the bottom of F is hitting the black square, whereas we see the top of F hitting the black square. It's incorrect. Here, obviously, top of F is hitting the black square correctly, but the side of the F is hitting the white square, which is not correct. So it should be this end rather than that end, touching the face, that face. So that's incorrect. So the answer here is C. That's our correct answer. Question 7. Here we have the J, circle, and square with a cross. Do we see these three shapes in any of these examples? Yes, we do. However, the side of the J faces the square. Here we have the top of the J facing the square, so this is incorrect. Here we have the back side of the square, of the J facing the square. Here we have the front, so that's incorrect. Part C, we have the bottom of the J facing the circle, but black circle. Here we see the top of the J facing the black circle, so we can remove that one also. If we quickly jump across here, because I noticed that the black square and the circle are involved in this square here, and we don't see those two shapes together here, so we can remove that one. So by default, this should be the correct answer. Let's just take a look. Circle with a cross facing adjacent to the square with the cross. So that's here. And here's an example. So yep, we see that. And then we have this circle facing the square. So we have all three faces sitting here. And can we replicate this shape here if we twist the cube around so this circle comes on top, and this falls to this face and that falls to that face. So essentially we're twisting round in this motion. That will replicate that. So D, that's our correct answer here. Question 8. Here we have the Z, let's call it a Z here. Z facing the white part of this square. Do we see that here? No, that's the top of the Z facing the white part of this square, and we know that the side of the Z is facing this part of the square, so we can remove that. Here we have the bottom of the Z facing there, and we know from this example it should be the side of the Z, so that's incorrect. Top of the Z facing the square with a diagonal line. We see that here, top of the Z facing the square with a diagonal line. However, the ends of the Z facing the orientation of this square is in this direction, whereas it's the 90-degree shift here. So these two faces don't match the way that these two interact, so we can remove that. Bottom of J to this square with the diagonal, and we don't see that in these examples here. So we can remove that, which means that E should be our correct answer. And all three of these shapes are here. Here we have the circle with the black part facing this shape of the square. So we see that here. And the triangular part of this black section is facing towards that circle. And we can replicate this by twisting this round in that orientation. So the answer here is E. That's the correct answer. Question 9. Here we have the square with a cross, and then square with a diagonal. Do we see all three of these shapes here? Yes, we do. We see that here. However, the triangle, the vertex of the triangle is pointing towards that square, whereas we don't see the vertex pointing. It's the side of the triangle, so we can remove that. L, bottom of L facing this pattern. We know that the L does not face this pattern here within the examples, so we can remove that. Let's go on to C. So vertex of triangle facing towards the square, and that's an example here. That seems correct. But we also have a vertex facing towards this square with a cross, and here we have the side of the triangle facing the square with a cross, so we can remove that. That seems incorrect. Part D, side of Z facing the top of at, side of Z facing top of at, side of this side of Z facing towards the square with a cross, this side of Z facing towards the square with a cross, and we can replicate this by, again, if you think about it, twisting this round so the at comes up there, square comes to here, and the Z goes over there. So that is possibly an answer, but let's just remove part E just to confirm. Point vertex of the triangle facing the square with a cross. So we don't see that here. If you notice that it's a direct interaction here. So here we have the middle of this vertex hitting the middle of this square, but we don't see that, so it's off the middle here. So tricky one, but this is incorrect. So the answer here is D. Question 10. Let's go through the examples that we have. So part A, we have the and circle and the black circle, sorry, and we have that here. In fact, this is exactly the same, but we can, from our experience now, we know that these two faces are in the wrong place. So the and should be sitting over here and the circle over here. So that's incorrect. Here we have the and circle without a line through it, dissecting it, and a black circle. Those aren't in the examples that we have on the left-hand side, so that can be removed. And the bottom of the and facing the black circle, but we know the top of the and is facing the black circle, so that's incorrect. We can also just quickly jump across here because I noticed that the side of the and is facing the black circle, and we've just done that, said that the top of the and is facing the black circle, so that's wrong. So then D should be the correct answer. So let's do square, circle, and a circle with a vertical line through it. Here we have that same example. Square is facing the circle. That seems correct. Can we replicate this on this face? Again, a twisting pattern. So this face will go up there. This face will twist round to here. So if you essentially think of it again in this orientation, twisting. So D is the correct answer here. That's the end of this video. I hope this was very useful to everyone. I have, as I mentioned earlier, part 1, and I'll do some more questions and videos on similar topics. But please look at some of the other videos that I've done on non-verbal reasoning and try and get yourself up to speed with them. But these are really useful for the non-verbal parts of the 11+, CAT4, ISEB. So the more you do, the better your mind will be attuned to these questions and you can rapidly go through them and get them right. Again, thanks for taking the time to run through these with me. I wish you well, and I will see you for our next video. Thank you. Bye.